Beach Talk Radio.
Lee County Commissioner Ray Sandelli.
I wanted to thank you because when I started on this path from the governor, one of the first things I did was your podcast, and it was a lot of fun. And you asked me questions that made me think about what people wanted.
Beach Talk Radio.
Jim Nickel. I did want to take a moment while I'm here to say thank you very much for your kind words during that election. I didn't have a chance to come up and say thank you right afterwards, and I do appreciate the opportunity to say that.
Beach Talk Radio.
Federal Judge Steve McGuire is here.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me on the show. It's always great to be in Fort Myers Beach, and I'm honored to ask to be a part of such an acclaimed program.
Beach Talk Radio.
Dr. Wayne Edson.
I just want to say, Ed, that I support your show. I think you're providing a great service to Fort Myers Beach. Our local politicians may not always feel that way, but hang in there, because I learned a long time ago, politicians are temporary.
This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio. This is episode number 175. That's right, 175. We're coming to you live from Peach Timeout in Times Square on Fort Myers Beach. And of course, we always like to thank our great local sponsors who have been with us for so long. Island Oils, Fort Myers Tiki Tours, Nervous Nellies, Mangaritas, State Insurance USA, Sun Palace Vacation, La Ola Restaurant, Tuckaway Cafe, Blue Ribbon Events, Beach Pottery, Shuckers, and of course, Pete's Timeout, our longest running sponsor. We are 2 weeks away from 3 years doing this radio show / Facebook show / little project. So thank you all for your support, and thank you for being here today. We have a great show lined up for you today. Later on, we're going to talk to Jim Hockett about the lighting situation. The recommendation is out for Sterile Boulevard, so Jim's going to come in and share his knowledge of lighting with us. And following our first guest, we're going to have Al Kinkle on to talk about something that he created for his daughter, Kimmie's Recovery Zone. So that's all coming up. And the wife is back, everybody, back from her vacation in Utah, where she was climbing mountains and shooting turkeys with slingshots and tackling big brown bears. And were there any brown bears?
So there were no animals that I would ever injure, just to make that abundantly clear. There were many, many, many reports of bears, much more than usual, because of the drought that they're experiencing out there. So the animals are having to come down to find water. And so every trail that I was on, either someone had spotted bear scat. Do you know what scat is?
Duty?
Yeah. Or there had been reports of bears activity. Yeah. So
when you go out hiking, do you wear a helmet?
No, I don't wear a helmet.
Because if anyone should wear a helmet while they're out doing physical activity, it's you.
I did fall quite a bit on the way down. I managed to go up, but that elevation, when you come from sea level, that is serious.
Did you have bear spray? No.
No.
All right. So how prepared were you to be out there in the wilderness?
I had sticks and I was singing very loudly. And so that'll scare anything away.
So if I Google way to protect yourself from a bear, it would say sing loudly.
Well, you want to just be talking so that you you don't surprise
doesn't
them.
that attract them? Like I can understand why your singing would repel bears.
Yes, this is true. Yeah. Well, no, they don't really want an interaction either, unless you have food. I mean, I'm not going to be going out there slathered in barbecue sauce either.
I see. All right, so we'll have more to tell you about from your vacation, which I'm sure could be a whole show in itself.
Well, only to those who are interested in that kind of stuff.
I think everyone's way more interested in what you do than what I do, which is really nothing.
Really, that I really was like, I could do that. I could be I would like to be a ranger out there.
Here comes Ranger Kim without her bear spray or her helmet. She's coming singing a happy tune to help you scare away the bears. All right. We also have movie trivia coming up later on. 2 tickets to the Beach Theater. And that'll be later in the show. But first,
do you have the answer?
I do. I always make sure that Janine sends me the answer or that I don't read the answer like I did a couple of weeks ago. So, yes, we have a question and an answer and 2 tickets to give away. But first,
Awesome.
our first guest comes to, back for a second round,
Yeah.
and the crowd's going crazy for Ben from Tuna Skin. And
as if we were boxers.
no.
We made it into the second round.
Last time Ben was here, we were outside in the hot sun. It is quite hot today, though, so we're taking the fan.
It's nice that there's a fan here because we were sitting here watching you guys get started, and I felt like a Baptist preacher.
Yeah. I don't understand. What does that mean, Baptist preacher?
I was sweaty.
Did they sweat a lot?
I apparently, yes.
I don't go to
That's the
church
statement I get.
very much, so maybe never mind that. So Ben, welcome back.
Thank you.
Explain your position at Tuna Skin for everyone that doesn't know.
I work for Tuna Skin in the events department. We have an events team. We have a bunch of events that we do throughout the year with our beach cleanups in all of our retail locations. This past year, we just premiered. We did our first annual inaugural Mid-May Madness fishing tournament, which was why I was here the last time. And this time, I'm here to talk about our grouper grapple. So those of you that are local know the grouper grapple.
You have to slow down now. You have to slow down.
You don't want to give everything away
we
in
don't
the first.
go right
just
for the.
kidding.
Yeah.
So tell us a little
I'm
bit
getting
about
to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
I know. Well,
Slow
tell us
it
for
down.
those who don't know. Tell us a little bit because I know you have a lot of knowledge just about what Tuna Skin is, what they do, what they make, what they sell.
Tuna
the company.
Skin, we're an aquatic apparel company.
Aquatic apparel.
Aquatic apparel. So anything that is worn in or around the water. Beach, whether you're walking the beach, whether you're swimming, whether you're fishing, whether you're paddleboarding, working out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to work out, apparently. Imagine that.
I don't know where they are.
So anytime it's just great for being outside when you're going to sweat, when you're going to be working. It's breathable.
Yeah.
We use our Eco material, which is 100% recycled plastic.
That's the coolest thing right
Yeah.
there.
Which is really cool.
And it's all sun protection.
All quick dry, antimicrobial, which for those that don't know, we went through this last time. Antimicrobial means it doesn't grow your funk.
Yes.
That means BO stays contained somehow.
There you go.
To put it more bluntly.
It's also wick away, so it like pulls the moisture. Like days like this where it's hot out and you're sweating, it pulls that moisture away from your body, and it offers that sun protection.
It's amazing that there's such a technology for a shirt.
Yes, but it's something it makes
much
sense
needed
because it's something that we wear all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Shirts.
Yeah. So you look at that building over there and you never would think there's a team of events people there. It's just, but it's a bigger company than that.
Yeah. We've got 4 retail locations down in Key West, one in Sarasota, north of here, one here in Fort Myers Beach, and one in Bonita Springs. And we do have a team of designers and creative people, some people that have done the events that we've done in the past so they can give some insight. So we do have a very strong events team put together.
Okay. So the event that you have coming up is, well, let's talk about the last fishing tournament. How did that go?
Yeah.
It went really well. Those of you that participated in our last Mid-May Madness fishing tournament, we had a great time. We had a really good turnout. We had some good fishermen. One of the great response that we got on the beach was everybody was wearing their shirts. Everybody saw their Tuna Skin shirts. We had people fishing. We had people catching all up and down Fort Myers Beach. We had some great winners too. And so, as a first annual inaugural event, it went off very, very well.
What was the biggest? Do you remember?
I want to say it was a 25-inch snook that was caught on the south end of the island.
What was the bait for that?
They used, I believe it was shrimp.
Okay.
So we had you could get live bait or you could catch your own shrimp. We actually had 2 teams of people right here in front of the store, in front of the Lani Kai, in front of the Times Square here, and they were catching a ton of
Really?
snook.
That close?
Yeah, they were just fishing on the beach, throwing a cast net.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
They were throwing a cast net to catch their bait, and then they were using that bait to catch their snook. Now, these obviously weren't winners. If we were doing a category for the most snook caught, they would be the winners. But we didn't have that this year. This year we had the biggest snook, but they definitely caught. They sent in a lot of pictures to us and a lot of snook to be qualified.
So before we continue on that, we got a question from the studio audience. Mikey wants to know if you have fat guy sizes. I don't know what that means.
Mikey, we do have big boy sizes.
Yeah.
Our t-shirts go up to 2X, some even 3X, and our button-down shirts go up to 3X. Our button-down, we call them button-down, but they're snaps. And our shorts go up to 44 waist.
So I'm disappointed that Mikey would ask that question, dear, because he was on a path to losing weight last time we saw him, which means by now he shouldn't even be asking about fat guy sizes. He should be asking about skinny guy sizes.
Mikey,
so
we also
what
have
happened?
a youth section. If you're looking for really skinny guy sizes, that goes from 23 to 30.
Hello, Angel from Long Island. Our whole family's,
yeah.
all of our family is watching today. I wonder why. They must be totally bored with nothing else to do. Your dad is watching, and
Or they miss you.
Yeah, there we go.
That's never ever. Those are words never uttered by anyone in my family.
True. That is not true.
So the total number of Fisher people, do you remember from your last one? I mean,
I want to say we had 50 plus participants. I want to say it was about 54.
And you had did you have a kids division?
We did. We had a kids division. We had some kids win the kids division, which we had, I believe it was two teams of 2 fishermen, 2 anglers that were competing in the kids division, and they both won something, which was great for them.
Yeah.
And both of them, it was their first fishing tournament. And so it was awesome to see them they would light up when we announced that they were winners.
Nice.
And they got gift certificates to tuna skin.
Very cool.
So once you win a tournament and you're that age, the first thing you want to do is go out and buy more stuff.
Right.
And so coming in and using their gift certificates, most of them, they used them 5 minutes after they got them, walked into the store and got more stuff.
Were there any bobbers being used in the tournament that you know of?
You're all about the bobber.
Yes,
fishing.
that's the only fishing he knows to do.
I'll never forget the first time I caught a fish was with one of those bobbers, and the feeling that you get when the fish pulls the bobber under the water, you can't replace that as a kid.
This is true.
I just decided to never go fishing again, that I never wanted to lose that picture in my mind.
That magic?
Yeah.
That magic, and I bet it was only about yay
It was
big,
a snapper.
It still gave you,
it was
you
a
go.
snapper.
It was not.
It was a snapper on Long Island. We were sitting somewhere on the dock. I don't remember
It was
where.
probably a sunfish.
It was a snapper.
A
It was
bluegill.
fresh.
It was a
salt-
bluegill.
Do they
Salt
do this
water.
all the time?
right.
Salt
Oh,
water,
yes.
right?
Nice.
Snapper, salt water, right?
Snapper is saltwater, yeah.
Burn on you.
Where
burn
were
on
you fishing? In the
Long
salt?
Island.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, the Long Island Sound. So what were we talking about that was more important?
I'm
than
not aware of any of them that used bobbers, but it was part of the rules that you could use bobbers.
Nice. So you wouldn't get the DQ if you used a bobber.
This is true.
Okay. So now this I was reading up on the rules and the protesting fee and the whole this grouper grappler thing is no joke. I mean, this is a serious deal.
A big tournament. This is a tournament that's been going on for 5-6 years, I believe. And it was put on by we were hosting it. Tuna Skin was one of the hosts. Now we're the primary host, and it is a big deal. All of our proceeds do go to Reunite the Fight. We're bringing out some vets. We've got 8 guys flying in. We're putting them up. We're paying for their meals. We're sending them out fishing in the tournament. Plus, we are the day. So our tournament is structured. Thursday is going to be our captain's meeting. Friday is the tournament, and they're going to be fishing all day until 6 o'clock. And then typically what we've done with these tournaments is we have the award ceremony immediately following. But when you've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning, plus you just got out back at 6, you've been in the sun, and going to an award ceremony where you got to get off your boat, clean yourself, take a shower, look like you don't look like a homeless fisherman, and then go to an award ceremony. Everyone was just beat. So we actually, Friday is going to be the tournament. Saturday is going to be the award ceremony, Saturday evening. So that'll give people some time. If they're coming in from out of town, they can come in and they can, spend Saturday with their family or whatever. And Saturday is the day that we're bringing in we have 3 boats that have volunteered to take out the vets to do some backcountry fishing. Nice. So that'll be really great. And we've also, part of our proceeds will also be going to the Jeff Somer Foundation. And if those of you that don't know of Jeff, he was a track coach here in Fort Myers and in the area. And he was a great influence on a lot of students and kind of an inspiration to a lot of them. And so when he passed, they set up a track scholarship in his name that we like to give to. And, some of the people participating have already reached out to us and thanked us and thanked Florida Structural Group, which is the other big sponsor here that's helping us out. These people have reached out to us and said, we really appreciate you doing not just Reunite the Fight with the Vets, but also the Jeff Somer Foundation and going very locally to people that a lot of the people in the community have a connection to.
I think he was the Estero High School cross country coach.
Yeah.
So the registration fee is
$600. You can go onto our website on groupergrapple.com and you can look at the rules. You can look at the registration.
I have no idea. Is that per person or per boat?
That is per boat.
Okay.
Up to 5 anglers per boat.
Okay.
So a boat fishes as a team, and then the boat would put the money in. So it's $600.
Do they win then as a team?
They would win as a team, and then they get to arm wrestle for who gets the money.
Oh,
And it
so
looks
that's
like-
a whole separate
That's a
competition.
whole that hopefully happens at the after party.
Okay.
Happening at Oliver's over next to Fishtail Marina, the after party.
Okay.
Thank you, Oliver's.
and it looks like up to 5 anglers for the $600.
Yeah.
5
Okay.
We
anglers,
just talked about.
and it will be. That's okay. He's fact checking.
I know,
for us. We all need fact checkers.
I know. He's busy doing that.
And so we will be $600 up until I believe it's August 6th.
Okay.
And then after that, if you want to register, you can register up into the captain's meeting, which is August 19th. You can come and register with your team in person. But if you register after August 6th, it'll be $675.
So when I was young, I used to try to play basketball, but I was a little pudgy kid. And, when they would pick the teams, I was always the last man out and didn't really have a team. So it was kind of like you just waited for somebody to get hurt or.
You and Charlie Brown.
Yeah. Or you waited for, somebody to get tired. Then you'd play for 30 seconds. Let's say there's a fisher person that doesn't have a boat or a team that's just kind of wandering around with $100. Will he be assigned? Can he be assigned to a team? Like, do you have a team of misfits or something like that?
I haven't heard, but if there's any team of misfits out there, please contact us. Events
Gotcha.
at tuniskin.net, and we will find somebody to hook you up.
So
with.
don't just show up with your pole and $100 and expect you're going to find a boat.
That's a tournament where you can fish in our mid-May madness.
Oh, I see.
And if you want to fish, you got to bring a boat, because if you're going to fish offshore, unless you're swimming with your pole, you've got to have a boat.
Do you know what it's like not to be picked for the basketball team when you're a little kid? It's devastating.
I do, but I have a feeling he's going to milk this one for the next half hour.
No. I'm glad that I don't show up with a fishing pole and a bobber and $100 out of my back pocket looking for a boat on August, whatever it is. So what's the grand prize finale there for the big winner?
The grand prize, so the way that it's structured is the winners of, we have kind of 2 divisions. We have a grouper division and a snapper division in this. And it's structured, the more people who sign up, the bigger the prize is. So when our first place winner gets it, they get a percentage of the entrance fees. And so the more people that sign up, the more people that show up, the more anglers we have, the bigger your prize is.
Got it. So you're looking for a way to split all the entry fees with the 2 causes and the prizes.
Correct,
Is it first, second, third prize? And
it'll be a first, second, third in our grouper tournament. It'll be so you've got to catch 3 different species of grouper for it to count.
Oh, I see.
And then you weigh in, and it'll be the aggregate, the total of those weighed in grouper to get your first, second, third. And then snapper, we have 3 different species, but then there's no weight. It's just a size for each one.
So if I catch a bluefish, does that count as a snapper?
It does not count as a snapper, but it'll make you feel good.
But
and
isn't
if you caught it on a bobber, it'll make you feel
well,
even
they're
better.
on the bottom, aren't they? The bluefish?
Sometimes.
Isn't a snapper, a bluefish, a grown-up snapper?
A bluefish, a grown-up snapper.
That's what I thought. You see, I'm remembering
you're
things from my
really-
red
past.
snapper, blue snapper.
No, I'm not thinking that at all.
I
I'm
don't know
thinking
what
my
he's
parents-
thinking,
my-
because that's a
you know what it is?
dangerous thing.
My parents lied to me when I was growing up. They told me a snapper grows up to be a bluefish.
A bluefish.
Yeah. Isn't
What
it a
is this,
bluefish?
like red
Maybe
fish,
it was a flounder.
Blue
or
fish, 1
something.
fish, 2 fish. Is this a Dr.
I'm
Seuss thing
so
you got
lost.
going on here?
So,
Is it and I'm sorry because he got me
Totally-
off track.
No,
So
Totally
it's the
thinking back
aggregate
now to
weight.
bluefish.
So they will catch them and release them, or
They
they're
will
going
catch them. So what
to
happens
weigh
is
them and then release
they
them.
catch them, they put them in their ice boxes, they bring them back, and we will have
Oh.
a weigh-in starting at 4:00 on Friday, the 20th. We'll have a weigh-in from 4 until we are done, basically. And all of the fish weighed in that count towards the tournament, we're actually then going to cook up and serve the next day
Got it.
at the banquet.
So you're allowed to keep these fish.
Yes.
Sometimes
Yes.
they get confused between catch and release. And
And right. Yeah. There
so
are.
these are all fish you're allowed to keep.
These
Why?
are all fish you're allowed to keep.
Is that why it's grouper and snapper so they can keep them?
Well, grouper and snapper plus, because those are the main ones that you
In
will catch
season.
in these. In
Oh,
these
okay.
spots.
This is the season.
Yeah, these are more
Gotcha.
offshore.
When is bluefish season?
I'm not sure.
Is that
If-
really a fish? Is bluefish
It
really?
is.
Okay. I
It
just want to
is.
make
I
sure.
don't know if they have a
I just want to
season,
make
though.
sure it is a fish because now I'm totally thinking my parents were really pulling the wool over my eyes about the bluefish.
He's bluefish and not getting picked on basketball.
Yeah.
He's got some damage.
You
Yeah.
know, that's okay.
He's got some
That's
damage.
okay.
So-
and it's hot out. So
yeah.
it's just
Yeah. I think
making
it's
it
the
worse.
heat. So the how many boats are you expecting and how far apart do they need to be in the water?
Past, we have had 15 to 34 boats. We're not limiting it to a specific amount. Obviously, like stated before, the more boats we have, the more prizes we have, the more money that goes towards the foundations. We're also planning on having, for any local businesses out there that want to be a part of it, we're having a silent auction. And all of the proceeds from the silent auction at the banquet are going to go to our two beneficiaries, the Jeff Somer Foundation
cool.
and Reunite the Fight. So if there's any businesses or individuals that, you know, you got that $100, you showed up with a pole, you want to be a part of it, but you just don't have a boat, you can donate that at our sponsor section, or you can donate it towards a silent auction. If you're a business that has apparel or whatever you guys have, all of the proceeds that we collect at our silent auction on the banquet evening are going to go towards our beneficiaries.
Now, are you going to have special shirts for all the anglers? Because I know when we used to run 5Ks, like you would get the T-shirt or
Yes,
whatever.
definitely. We have one of our resident designers and artists, Jose Farnol, has designed the shirt. You guys can check that out on our Facebook page, on the Grouper Grapple Facebook page and the Tuna Skin Facebook page. Some examples of those shirts, which is really cool.
And anybody could buy those. They don't have to be in the competition, or they do.
To get a shirt, you participate in the competition, and we'll be selling them the night of the banquet and at the weigh-in. So we encourage people, you know, the banquet is really for the winners. We've got additional tickets that you can get to be a part of the banquet, to come and eat the grouper that are caught. You can find those on our website and Eventbrite. You can get tickets to the banquet. We're really encouraging people for the weigh-in. You know, if you want to come and show up and see these really cool fish being weighed in and be a part of the excitement, come on down to Fishtail Marina. Fishtail Marina is going to host it along with Fishtail Restaurant over on the south end of the island. So...
And what was the other question I had? You made me forget.
Bluefish.
No
Bobbers.
more bluefish. I'm done with the bluefish
Getting
and the bobbers.
picked
I'm going to go back and
last.
look at some pictures when we get home from the old family days when we were out fishing.
Dr. Seuss does have redfish, bluefish, and there's a
yeah.
lot of pictures.
One fish, two fish.
You're funny now too. Look at that. So, anything else about? Are you getting decent registration so far? Is it just out there now?
We are. We're getting decent registration. We encourage people to register sooner rather than later. I know a lot of fishermen, they're looking at the weather.
Yeah.
They're looking at the tides. They're looking at a bunch of factors. You know, either way, if you get out there, it's going to be a good time. That's what we're encouraging.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't super competitive. Yeah, there's going to be some things that you can win, but this is really a good time to benefit some good
I know.
beneficiaries.
I remember my question now. You have an area on your website where you're allowed to lodge a protest for $300.
Yes.
Why would somebody protest?
So if somebody thinks that they've been done wrong, or somebody in another vessel has gotten their fish in the wrong way, you know, we only allow certain ways of fishing in the rules. You know, you have to use the right tackle. You can't use a cast net. You know, you can't go down there and spearfish for them and then bring them up and say you caught them on a rod and reel. So if there's any protests from, you'd be surprised.
It's like throwing a challenge flag.
I was. Well, it's a little
It is
different
like
than
throwing
that.
a challenge flag.
I can't believe
Thank
people
you.
would actually cheat in a fishing tournament where part of the money's going toward 2 charitable organizations.
People don't, but you got to cover all your bases.
Mhm.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
And somebody might, they should read the rules, but they could inadvertently.
Oh, stop.
yeah,
In your many tuna skin years of fishing and fishing tournaments, what is the most egregious penalty that you've ever seen somebody try to?
we had at our mid-May Madness
This last one.
this last one, and it wasn't a penalty. We announced the winners in one division, and a guy came up with because what they did, all the participants, they would take pictures with the
Sure.
measuring tape, and they would send it to us. And when we got it, we would log it, and then we would respond to that picture. They'd send it to us via text
Sure.
or email, and we would respond, "We got it. You're good." So this gentleman came up and he showed us the picture, and then he showed us the immediate response of, "We got it. You're logged." And he was actually the winner. And we had, for some reason, missed that in the calculations of everything. And we announced that someone else's fish was the winner, and it was at this size. And he went, "Excuse me,
Right.
I have this picture, and clearly mine is bigger. And clearly you said that you got the information." So we said, "Well, clearly we're sorry." And by we, I mean, I was announcing it. So I had to apologize to him and everybody, which is fine. But the winner did win, and he got his prize. And so that's the biggest we've had. We, truthfully, people don't really lodge complaints, but it's in there to keep everybody
But have you had
honest.
people try and
Yeah.
fish with nets or fish with spears or fish with guns?
Not yet. I
Okay.
wouldn't give anybody any ideas.
Gotcha. All right. Yes. Well, that's good. Everybody's honest down here. That's good. But you have to have your bases covered in case
Right.
you got
Exactly.
a cheater in the mix.
And especially when there's money involved, you want
Right.
to make sure that everybody's honest and everybody's clear, because we don't. And when there's organizations involved that are getting some proceeds from
Right.
this, you want
Right.
to make sure everybody's doing it correctly.
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, Ben. If there's
Thank you
anything
guys
we
for
can do to
having
help out, good luck. And
I appreciate it.
register for the Grouper Grappler, which is August 19th through 21st.
19th, 20th, and 21st, go to groupergrapple.com and get all of the registration information. That'll also send you to our Facebook to see prior years and winners. That will also give you sponsorship if you're looking to sponsor.
What do the sponsorships cost people?
There's a whole array of it. If you want to just put some money towards our beneficiaries, if you want to sponsor certain things, we have different levels, and that's all broken out in the on the website at groupergrapple.com.
And give us one more time where Tuna Skin is located.
Tuna Skin is located right here on Fort Myers Beach, right next to the Lani Kai, right across the street from 7-Eleven. If I remembered the address, I would give it exactly.
Can't miss it.
But you can't miss it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, Ben.
Thank
Good
you, guys.
luck. And we
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
you
Thank
coming
you.
in. All right, Ben. And the Grouper Grappler is coming up. I'm going to take care of Beach Pottery while you lasso up our next great guest.
Am I doing?
Not yet. Beach Pottery, folks, our friend Alana, and the folks out there. You know what? I just saw that they posted they have key lime pie now at Beach Pottery, which is located at 17980 San Carlos Boulevard in Fort Myers. Alana had a nice pink Beach Talk Radio hat. She went out boating last week, and apparently her husband drives a tad too fast on the boat, and whoop, the hat went flying into the water. So now it's swimming with the fishes. And of course, all the pots down at Beach Pottery are mostly imported from Vietnam because we don't want no stinking China pots. No pots from China. You know what you get from China, and we don't want none of that. She purchases directly from manufacturers, so they have the best pricing in town as well as the best selection. Over an acre of pots and furniture and artwork and a lots more out back. Each pot is hand-painted. It's true works of art. Over 8,000 pots imported from not only Vietnam, but Mexico. So stop by, ask Alana what happened to her hat, and buy a pot, because you can buy one from $5 to $500. 437-4211. 437-4211. All righty. Did I forget a chair and the whole thing? All right. I didn't know we were going to come on over, Al. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Don't forget, we have movie trivia coming up later on in the show. And we're going to give away 2 tickets to the Beach Theater for whatever movies are playing. And you can go, nobody heard that, you can go to our website, beachtalkradionews.com, and you can check out the movies that are playing. Al is hobnobbing with the crowd. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good,
I'm
you're
Jen.
good. Jen,
Mhm.
you're going to get nice and close. Al, come on, sit down. Stop hobnobbing with the crowd. Sit down. We're on live. Al, come on. Yeah, this is our camera right here.
Okay.
Have a seat, Al. Get nice and close to the microphone. Al's out there. What are you doing? Hobnobbing with all the customers here.
All the successful people on the beach.
There you go.
I want to meet them all.
So, Al, why don't you? I didn't know you were bringing a Jen. It's
Yeah,
Jen, right?
Jennifer.
Explain or please introduce who Jen is and what she does, and then we'll talk about the organization. You are from Kimmie's Recovery Zone.
Yeah, Kimmie's Recovery Zone is an independent organization, a nonprofit that will support the community in their mental health and substance abuse disorders. And Jennifer is one of our board members.
Okay.
And Jennifer goes along with me a lot of times to explain what Kimmie Zone is and to explain what her role in Kimmie Zone is, which is tremendous. I have a great group of volunteers that support Kimmie Zone, and without them, we couldn't do what we're doing right now.
So, Al, you from New York?
No, New Jersey.
Okay, I'm from New
Heard
York,
that.
so I can pick up a little bit on your accent there from up there. So, can you? All right, Jen, give us an idea of what you do as the board member there, and then we'll talk about the organization and how it's been helping people and how it helps people.
So as a board member, I show up to kind of just do whatever we need to have done. But I was a big part of starting an RCO in Fort Myers to begin with. I don't know if you know.
What is an
much
RCO?
about- That's a recovery community organization.
Okay.
That's what Kimmie's Recovery Zone is. And so I'm a peer support specialist. And so we get a lot of training on RCOs and everybody working together to do more together than we can do by ourselves as individual organizations. So my mom and I run a halfway house called Ryan's Healing Center too.
Okay,
So,
where's that?
It is right by Yana, which is like off of Cypress Lake Drive.
Okay,
So we have 2 houses for women and children in recovery.
gotcha.
So as a peer support, I joined the team to try and create a recovery community organization. We met Al. We loved his heart and felt like he was so pure and he could get things done. So we just all sort of came together and it's getting going. And so he asked me to be on the board, and I'm basically there to show up and help in any way that I can. I'm also a big part of, we do Narcan distribution. So we brought some today. And so that's been a special thing for me. I've kind of been the face of Narcan for Kimmie's Recovery
Okay.
Zone in a way because it saved my life.
Oh, I
So,
gotcha.
mhm.
So, what do you mean? It saved your life.
So I had an overdose. And back then, everyone wasn't carrying it around, or there wasn't access to it like there is today, which is why we want that to happen. So I was dead for almost 13 minutes.
Wow.
And so it was 9 minutes. 13 minutes, you're not coming back. But
Okay.
pretty close to. So EMS had to hit me with Narcan about 4 times to bring me back to life.
What year was this?
You know, I've been trying to figure that out. It was at least 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Al, can you tell us your story?
Sure.
Just nice and close. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Glad to tell you the story about how this all started with Kimmie. Kimmie had a substance use disorder and some mental health issues. She was dual diagnosed with PTSD and depression and even bipolar at one point. So never really truly knew what was causing most of her activity, especially around addiction. But we believe it came from a mental health issue that started around 9 years old and never was addressed until she was about 15. And by the time she was 15 years old, she was fully addicted to pills, basically. And so the journey begun, and we did about 20 years. Kimmie's disease just captivated us, the whole family. And when you have someone that has issues like mental health or substance use disorder, it's the whole family that's involved in it. It's a family affair. So with Kim, we hoped and prayed and sent her to many places for recovery. And to bring it to fast forward she was 2 years in recovery in Palm Beach, and she was coming home in December, and I was to pick her up on a Friday. And I talked to her on the night before and checked on her and see if she was okay. And she said, "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Everything's okay." And then 9 o'clock in the morning, I got the call that Kimmie had overdosed and was on life support in Jupiter Hospital. And she overdosed on fentanyl and heroin. And she was clean and sober for nearly a year. So, she was on life support for 6 days. And we gathered around her and prayed and hoped that she would recover, but it didn't work out. So Kimmie passed on. And on that day, I said that feeling the pain and the sting from substance use disorder, I said that I was going to do something to help families in the future so they don't have to feel the pain and the sting. And I think a lot of us parents or people that lose loved ones, we say that, and that's great, because then that drives us to get out there and let people know how difficult it is for somebody that has an issue with drugs or mental health, how difficult it is for them to come through that. So they need a lot of support. They need a lot of help. And that's why Kimmie Zone was started, was to support, give some love and kindness and help to the community. Because this now, right now, with the epidemic, this disease is spreading fast and wildly. It's an epidemic on top of an epidemic. And as a community, Fort Myers, Collier County, we have wonderful people, all interested in helping and doing things for other people. As you know, this community rises to the occasion when it comes to helping other people. So we find the same thing with the zone, that we find we have a lot of great support. And I think that hopefully before the year's out, we'll have a presence of a building and an office. That's what our goal is, to have something open within the year. Sorry.
No. I just, I did go on the website and I watched the video. It was very moving, very moving. And I just can't imagine what you've gone through. And I can't imagine, what was in you that was able to pull up and do something good out of this tragedy, because I don't think, I'll speak for myself. I don't know how I would do that. So can you tell us what it was in you or your family that kind of did that? And thank you for doing that for people.
Well, I think when you have tremendous loss, and in Kimmie's case, it was, I called her a wounded dove. And for 20 years, I was fighting for her for 20 years anyway. My whole life consisted of work and our family and trying to get Kimmie on the right track. And we had her there. So I think for myself anyway, and I think a lot of people that have gone through what I've gone through, the only medicine that you can take is by helping other people. So for me, it does a world of good for me, because I don't know what I would do if I wasn't doing this. So people take different stands. Mine was to go out and try to do something to help other people. And a lot of people, like you say, a lot of people do it. Some do it in different ways. Right. Some pray, and that's just as good. So, we have lots of people that will support us that can't actually go out and talk about it. Originally, in the beginning, I could not talk about it for more than a minute or two, and then it just took me over. Right. But now I'm getting more relaxed in speaking about Kimmie, because I know that journey and that mission that we have is going to save a lot of people's lives and hopefully change the lives of the family. Of course, it not only destroys the person that's in recovery or not in recovery or trying to get into recovery, but it also takes a toll on the family, the whole family.
So at the recovery zone, I had to run out and get a chair because Mr. Ed forgot my extra chair, but tell us a little bit, is it, what services are there? Is it a clearinghouse of information for folks? What is going on now, and what do you hope for in the future?
Well, right now, our brick and mortar is really our website. and that's our brick and mortar. And what we do there, we are actually a resource center at this point. So eventually what we're going to do when we have our building or our offices open and our meeting rooms is really have support system throughout the community for people that are in need of different pathways to recovery. So there'll be several pathways to recovery. We'll unite and collaborate with the community to bring services to the people that are in need. And it'll be an open door policy. It's, one of the things when you're suffering from addiction or mental health is like, where do we go to get help?
Right.
And we hope to be that driver that tells people where they can go, where they can get help, who takes insurance, who doesn't take insurance, and that'll be all supplied by the wonderful
I think that's the biggest thing is people need help. I don't know that there are or are not enough services out there, but regardless, it's if people can't figure out the roadway, the pathway to get there, it doesn't matter what's available if they can't find the path.
And that's what it's supposed to be, a one-stop place where you can find out, because all these organizations are working together, so they can come there and figure out what pathway they want to take, because it's only when you take responsibility and own your recovery in the way that you want to do it that it happens. And plus, with Al's experience, we can have grief support groups as well, because like he said, it's not just us, it's the whole family. The only way for anybody in the family to recover is to turn that pain to purpose, whichever side of it you're on, his or mine.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's supposed to be that. So, and we also want to have, because they say the opposite of addiction is not recovery, it's connection. So we want to eventually have a space. And they have them other places like the Zone in Georgia. There was a place in Miami as well where they can come, get snacks and coffee and maybe play pool and hang out with other clean and sober people. So it can be of so many things once we get that building.
It's 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 not long, but Oh, sorry. Okay. So he's going to play that. Sorry. He's going to play the video from the website. That'll give you a little more insight into the situation that your daughter was in. And then I wanted to ask some more questions about this. Are you ready to go with that? Okay. So this is in the hands of who can have this and be trained to use it?
Everyone. Okay. Everyone in the whole community, regardless of your exposure to it or not, should have it, because it is such a big epidemic right now. You could be in the Home Depot parking lot and it's really easy to use. And we have a training on our website if you want to watch the videos, but I can also tell you real quick, there's 2 doses in there. It should a lot of times only take 1, but there's the carfentanil out there nowadays that makes it a little more difficult. So you push that nasal spray all the way up into one nostril.
I don't want to open one, but I'm sure people can get the idea.
And you could go to our website to see it.
Yeah, you can open it. Yeah, well, you have it.
Yeah. And the other thing is if someone is not experiencing an overdose, they're not going to get hurt by this. So you don't have to be afraid of it.
I thought maybe there was 2, like it was together, but there's actually 2 separate ones.
Right. So you would take it in your hand and that red button on the bottom, you just push it up. You wait 2 minutes. If the person doesn't revive, you use the other one. Now you want to stand back once they wake up because they're going to be mad. That doesn't feel good. But then, and then you still want to have someone on site calling EMS, because what it does is it throws the opiates off the receptor sites long enough for that repressed breathings come back, but they are going to go back on. And so you need to get them medical attention still. It can happen again.
So I have some stupid questions because I don't know a lot about overdose stuff. So how do you know when somebody's overdosed on the type of drug that you need to use that with?
So a lot of times you might not know because they would just be unconscious. It's like if you were to come up on someone in a parking lot. But like if you see someone in their car slumped over, a lot of times there'll be drug paraphernalia around because they don't have time to move it when it happens. So that would be an indication. Track marks, obviously. Okay. It's probably easier for me to spot because I've been in the world.
Right.
But
I just don't get out of the house a lot, so I'm
Okay.
I'm going to ask dumb questions. So
There is no dumb question.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Thank you very much. I get the bell for that. So the second question is why are people using that drug?
It's addictive.
For what reason, though? I mean,
Well, I think, there isn't just one reason. I mean, that we all know the Purdue lawsuit that just is getting settled now. There was a big in what was it, the 90s that
Yeah.
it started,
Mhm.
that they started, the pharmaceutical companies were pushing the opiates to a lot of people. And it's a very addictive substance, whether you're an addict or not. So
Okay.
you're going to be physically dependent on something like that as soon as, if you ingest it for a long period of time. In my opinion, addiction is a disease, and so if you have that predisposition, it really just is a matter of what you pick up
Gotcha.
and when and things. So
how old was Kimmie when she passed away?
She was 35 years old when she passed. And like I said, something that you were just saying, I think in Kimmie's case, there was a mental health issue which gave her a lot of pain. And I think when people get addicted to anything, no matter what it is, you're just trying to feel better.
mhm.
So I go back to my childhood. I think when I was a little boy, 8, 9 years old, and I smoked a cigarette, I felt like I was 10 foot tall, And so it's just looking for something to make you feel better. And in that, when you're looking, and if you're doing the opioids, and especially in our case, is that it's very addictive. So once you get doing the opioids, you're really got a rough road ahead of you.
Mhm.
And then with opioids, then you start, it's really heroin. You come down to it, it's heroin. And then
Okay.
you start using heroin.
Oh, I see.
And then when you start using heroin in today's world, the heroin and the fentanyl is really substitute with a lot of other things. So it's very dangerous and it's very powerful. So right now, a lot of our children that really started with a mental health issue wind up with an addiction issue.
Ah.
You treat the addiction issue, but you never treated the mental health issue. But today they're doing that, which is great.
So your goal is to have a physical building that you have a location like already picked out?
No, not
Okay.
yet. No.
And so you're basically in the fundraising stage to
Yes.
try and how much money do you need?
I don't know, 5 million, but
Yeah.
it's going to take a lot of money
Yeah.
for the size of the building. But we would say it would be very high end. Of course, we want to make
Sure.
it a real special place.
How many people would you like to be able to help in your?
Well, what I would look at it as that we would have peer specialists in there all day. We would have mentors. We would work with the court system to help the people that are coming out of prison that may have issues, and we're doing that right now. We just started to do a program with the court system. It's very, very new, and I just had a meeting the other day, and I'm excited for what they're doing. So there's multiple pathways that we can help people.
Are there any services being provided now that address this in the county?
We have the Narcan, and that's like our biggest thing right now.
What do you mean you have it? Like it's
I have it at home.
so
and
people can just call you, and I
Yeah.
saw people walking out with it when they came in. It's free,
I'll deliver it. It's free.
and so you just put it in your car.
We do
Or,
outreaches.
okay, just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah, and we have since we started, which is January, February, March. We have given out about 3,000 units of Narcan.
And where are you getting the funding to purchase an Narcan to give it away for free?
DCF has a
Okay,
fund, and
gotcha.
that's a lifesaver. They really did us a great justice by putting Narcan out there free, because in our instance, and even in what Jen just said, it has saved a lot of lives.
Hmm.
At one point,
Crazy.
they didn't want us using Narcan.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't believe that we should use it, and they were saying that if you use it, they also came up with a thing a few years ago where they would say, well, you can only use it 2 times on somebody. Well, that's like saying somebody that has some kind of disease or cancer, and you're only going to treat them once.
Yeah.
This is a lifelong
Stigma.
disease. Yeah. And in Jen's part, my part, this is lifelong. This is a fight for your life. It doesn't start when you recover, but it continues your entire life. You fight the rest of your life to stay away from substance.
One of the things that I noticed a couple weeks ago was that you were at the chamber down here on Fort Myers Beach, and one of our sponsors, State Insurance USA, donated their $500 to you, which was nice. They donate $500 to a different charity. I don't know if charity is the right word, but to a different organization every month. And so I saw the picture and then wanted to have you on the show. So that, getting the word out through the chamber and through other ways, I'm sure is helpful to what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And on the beach here, I belong to the Kiwanis. It's a great organization.
Right.
Sandy Lepke, who's the president, works together with me. We work with we've been working with the homeless to try to help them out here on the beach. And that's Roger Mercado from the city.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working real hard to help those folks out because they also have some problems. I've even given them a lot of Narcan. So also I belong.
Let me ask
to the
you a
beach
question
chamber.
about the homeless on the beach. You said you've been giving them a lot of Narcan. Are there a lot of drug addicts that are homeless on Fort Myers Beach?
I was homeless on this beach.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jen was homeless on the beach. So
you
yeah,
probably wouldn't have known it if you saw me down here, but
yeah, I think a lot of people look at the homeless and think all kinds of issues, but a lot of them are really great people that had issues that never were addressed. It doesn't have. I think you said something a little services. No matter, a doctor told this to me. He said, "Al, no matter what services we provide, it's never going to be enough because the epidemic is that strong." So we can have 10 zones, 15 zones. But in the meantime, I think the work being done, you have Lee Memorial, Park Royal, you have Solace Care. All those groups are the Lawrence Center, Betty Ford. They're all now collaborating together. And I think that's the only way that we're going to make a dent in this epidemic that we have.
Is to
Collaboration. Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
No, well, I think you bring up a good point that it often starts with a mental health issue, and while there are that's also an area where it's hard to get service. It's hard to get
more than ever.
It's more than ever. It's hard, and they're busier now
Yeah.
than ever. You can't. It's very hard, I would imagine, to get in to see somebody because people are experiencing greater levels of depression and whatever since the pandemic. So I think you're right. The key is to get in there if you notice something with your child or with a loved one early on, to get in there, get fighting, to get it, your insurance to cover it or to get those services to fix that mental health issue before it morphs into another problem.
And you hit the nail right on the head because
I get the buzzer for that.
I thought he was knocking me off.
That's not a time's up thing. That's a good question thing.
But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This is the mental health issue. Kids Minds Matters doing a great thing. The Drug Coalition's doing a great service to the community. Prevention. But what you have to understand is that this is in our DNA also.
Right.
So I say from the cradle to the grave, we have to fight this. And the quicker that the community and the world understands that this is something that we might not even welcome into our house, but it's in our DNA.
Right.
So the more that we can educate our children, and the younger that we get them to understand that the danger of addiction and drugs and mental health and identify it, the better off we're going to be.
I just think also is everything that we can do to reduce the stigma around mental health and getting services. If we can bring that down and get it more on par with, you would not judge somebody who went to seek treatment for diabetes.
Exactly.
And so nor should you judge somebody who goes to seek treatment for any kind of mental health disorder. It's not something that people can just wish away.
And that's a big part of the peer support world. That's what a big mission of ours is in the RCOs, because if people can understand and the stigma can be reduced, we can make a big dent in it a lot better, obviously. So,
do we miss anything, Al?
No, I think the last point, you hit the nail on the head again, I think, was stigma. That is a major part of this whole thing. And I can just tell you in my own experience, the times when people would say, well, we don't have time for her. She's a drug addict. Well, she's a drug addict that's just trying to get better. And she found that to be in a drug that was very addictive. And it happens now. if you take the statistics from 10 to 15 years old in children, the suicide rate is very high. And now in our community, people my age are having major issues with addiction because at some time and point in their life, which the doctors and all thought, well, we'll give them this medication, unbeknownst to them how addictive it was. And then they just, after the doctor's script runs out, they run around and try to get it somewhere else.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. Anything we can do to help and help
Thank
get
you.
the word out and help raise money for the recovery zone, we're happy to do it. And good luck with everything. And
Thank you.
I guess, should I take?
Take it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Take more if you want.
Yeah, we got a whole bag.
I hope I never have to use it.
No,
I hope
yeah,
not
that's
either.
right. But thank you so
Thank you.
much. We're very grateful for you. Thank you for helping us out today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Al. Thank you,
Thank
Jen.
you.
Appreciate it. And congratulations on everything.
Thanks.
And check out Kimmie's recovery zone on the internet, folks, and you'll see exactly what's going on. There's a 14-minute video on there also that you can check out about what these folks are trying to build and the entire story there. So thank you so much to Al and Jen for coming on. And folks, these are the kinds of days like today, because the humidity starts right at the top of the day. Like you walk out the door and it's hot and muggy and humid, and right away you're going like this, swatting away bugs and trying to knock away the gnats and the no-see-ums and the bugs. And what you want to do is you want to be prepared. And to be prepared for that, you're going to go to don'titchit.com and you're going to buy some of this fabulous natural insect spray. That's what you're going to do. It's made with 100% essential oils. It is DEET free. There's no water added, no chemicals, no synthesizers or synthetics. No synthesizers. Oh, that's a musical term, right? Synthesizer. If you had a synthesizer in your bug spray, man, that would be crazy stuff right there.
That would be.
Smells amazing, by the way. So don'titchit.com, which you can buy online at islandoilsllc.com and don'titchit.com. And you can also buy at the Bait and Wait. Bait and Wait is the name of the place, Ed. It's called Bait and Wait. It's not Bait and Wait something. It's called Bait and Wait. You can also buy it at the Snook Hut Bait and Tackle. And for goodness sake, and right across the street at the Lighthouse Island Resort. So check out Island Oils LLC or don'titchit.com and get yourself some of that very nice smelling insect spray. It repels the insects, and you'll be ready to go, because today was one hell of a humid start to the day, right, Jim Hockett?
It was, Ed, absolutely.
Yeah. When you were out on the boat with our friends at Beach Pottery, how were the bugs then?
We weren't on the boat. We were on the boat dock. And by the way, nice job on Alana today. I mean, you corrected it. Good job.
She lost her hat somehow.
She did lose her hat. Kurt is a little bit of a crazy driver.
Car driver or boat driver?
Boat. Well, both. But
oh, I see.
Boat in this case.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Hockett is a lighting expert. He's probably the most expert lighting expert that we have in the community, or pretty much up there, right? You know a lot about lights.
I know a little bit about lights, yes.
Yeah. And you were on the, I don't even know what it was called. What was it called?
Stakeholders, the public stakeholders.
And so there were two meetings that you were involved with when we were way back in the beginning. The consultant, thank you, sir. The consultant was town lighting, is town lighting. And that was at the beginning stages when you were just kind of doing the basic stuff, right?
It was, Ed. If you don't mind, though, I'd like to take it back a little bit before that. If you don't
before
mind.
that,
Yeah,
okay, sure.
Before that, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, for your thousands of listeners here
Okay.
today. Because
thank you for that.
I think it is important that
All
we
right.
get background on this, some context. This thing really started back in 2019. One thing I think is important to recognize is the road is owned by the county, right? So the county funded a study, the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, so the county funded this study that was done, and they brought in a company called Team Engineering, David Green, 2019. He did a pretty extensive engineering study. He went all the way through the island. He looked at every fixture. He took photometric measurements at every fixture. He walked on the beach. He looked for any type of distraction for the turtles. Now, the purpose for the study was really related to safety. There have been some reports of crashes, so he did those studies and kind of went through that. So that was his main purpose, but also he understood that any type of a lighting recommendation had to also consider wildlife. He presented that in like November maybe of 2019. by the way, I want to say that's important, and I want to bring that up because regardless of what we decide that we want to do and what the council decides that they want to do, the county has a major input in that because it's their road. Right. So I think that may get lost. We seem to think maybe we can do whatever we want, and that's not really the case. We got to bring them back into whatever decision is made. But anyway, they funded the study for us, for the island. After all of the investigation and data that he pulled, he came up, I'm just summarizing, but he came up with essentially saying that multiple options that he could do, including amber, white, blah, blah, blah. He identified maybe 22, I think, fixtures that from his area on the beach that you could see some light distraction, that the turtles could be distracted from. Recommended that some of those were due to mast arms that might have been skewed, that could have been corrected there, and through shielding and through a LED light system that could be directionally input. So his feeling and his recommendation at that time in the report that he issued was that you couldn't do a 1-for-1 because they're not spacing, but he felt like that you could take some of the existing poles, retrofit what's on there with an LED with a shielded light source where necessary, use the existing poles that are on there and add other ones, and then add a few other poles, new poles, which, by the way, is pretty expensive to add a new pole. According to this most recent information, is about $13,000 if you want to add that
Per
to the
pole.
distribution line per pole. So anyway,
By the way, that's still available. That MPO study is still
Yep.
available. You
If
can
people
Google it.
want
If you want to look at it, it is online. You can. It's a
good
public
study.
document.
Yeah,
I did read it at one point.
I know we talked about it, but I
Yeah.
just think it's important to bring it back in
Yeah.
because that's why we are where we are today. He presented that to the council in November. Rightfully so. The Marine Resource Task Force, Turtle Time, they showed up in masses, and they are really good and, really focused on making sure that we protect our wildlife, which we should all appreciate because it is extremely important. And we don't want any design. There won't be any design, actually. It won't happen. It's impossible because FWC has to sign off on whatever is on there. If you use, and this is in the most recent study, they talk about it, but if you use a fixture that is already on and approved by them, which is only going to be a limited wavelength amber, then you don't need to get any approvals, right? If you use a fixture that's not on their program, then you got to go through this approval process, which, by the way, now is not easy because they're shut down due to COVID.
Right.
So anything we do not on that program will take, an additional, who
3
knows,
months.
3 to 6 months.
right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he came up with that. They presented to the council. Turtle Time and some of the environmentalists showed up, and they really were good about expressing their concern. A little bit of information I would agree with. Some I'm not. There is no requirement, by the way, for amber lighting, on Estero Boulevard. The requirement is that FWC has to sign off on it. If you can shield it and keep any light from going there, you don't have to have amber. However, having said that, you might want amber anyway. Maybe you want amber because it's even a marketing thing. We want that marketing consideration for the island, that we want to be amber, and it gives you that feeling of being environmentally friendly, whether it's necessary or not. So I don't care if it's amber or not, but I'm just saying do it for the right reasons and be honest for the reasons that you're doing it for. So during that time, the council responded. They advised the town manager, Roger, to go out and do another RFP. They want to do their own study. Didn't really like the MPO's findings and really didn't like David Green a whole lot, to be quite honest with you. When you watch that video, he's not a great sales guy. I would not put him in the sales, but he's a good engineer, I think. So they did the RFP, and in that meeting, they said that they really wanted to look at amber and potentially a dual source. Now, fast forward to here.
Before you move fast forward, my remembrance of the meeting was the council wanted turtle-friendly lights. I'm not so sure they said amber, or maybe they did.
I thought they did, and it's been a while since I watched the video.
Certainly wanted something that was FWC approved. They didn't want to be put in a spot where they could be fined. A dead turtle is a $25,000 fine.
I think it's more than that.
It's more than that.
I think it's more than that.
Okay.
Because
it's a lot of money.
FWC approved is not just amber. Again, I want to make sure that you understand that. David was recommending an FWC approved system. He was recommending a white system, shielded and with all of the right cutoffs, to be FWC approved. So that was not it. they were focused on amber.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
do believe in that meeting they even talked about dual source, but I could be wrong.
All
I
right.
think they talked about that. So they did the RFP. They hired Town Lighting, and I think that was maybe January. They come up. We've had all these all these calls. They've gone to the safety committee. They've gone to the Marine Resource Task Force. We've had our own public. So there's been so much input, and the input, to be honest with you, it's all the same from each group you go to, no matter how many times you do it. What's I think consistent in the input is the safety. Really, I think wants white light, because white lighting, regardless of what people want to say, is better in terms of safety. And that's what David Green said, and it's also what Town Lighting said. So that's an area that overlaps. The environmentalist side of it only want amber, and again, I talked about why that is, and again, that might be a good reason, because if you have all amber on the island, it's going to make people think, what's an island, and it's amber. So there's advantages to that. So, I think that with all that input, we're not changing, what we think. But what both of those groups, the safety committee and the Marine Resource Task Force, both agree on is they didn't like a dual source, because the safety committee said if you can design it without, infringing upon the turtles, why would you need a dual source? Go with white and do that. It's better for safety. The Marine Resource Task Force says, well, why would you want to do white? Because white's bad. We want to have amber. So now, fast forwarding all the way a year and a half later is where we're at. And the study that came out this week that will be discussed next week, I don't really get a lot out of it, to be honest with you. There's really not a lot of new data that came up in this 12-page report.
So you're saying that up to $185,000 for the consultant, and there's not a lot of new data.
I have not seen a lot of new studies. So like for this report, they used the refresh page. If you notice that the refresh is
it's a Lee County.
It's Lee County where they're doing the road improvements and things like that.
Right.
And they made some assumptions based off of the size of the road and things like that. But it wasn't an actual photometric layout and data. Again, that was, maybe there are those things, but it was not in this report that I saw.
Let me just ask, because you're going to know, your memory's better than mine. But this is their second.
That's right.
This is their second. So they did do a first report.
Yeah.
And they did some study. They had some data that they had collected. I mean, they went out with a truck and they did some stuff.
They had said they did 100 miles of driving up and down the island. I'm not sure specifically what data, in terms of the poles or the photometric. I mean, that was provided actually by the first study. So I think they might have used that, because that was actually mentioned in their RFP to use that information that David Green had put together. In this study, they just say for today's analysis, a conservative average cross-section would be used to estimate fixture counts and costs. So there's nothing really firm. This is an estimate based off of the information that they've discovered in other sources, but not with a actual audit and photometric layout of a proposed system. So I just want to make that clear. Okay. So when you're looking at the recommendations, there's nothing really firm and right. This is really still kind of recommendations. And like you said, the last study they had was similar. They had a table that came up with some different options and said, this is what it's going to look like in terms of energy. This is going to look like, and nobody could know what that is. Again, I have been in lighting for a while, and I know a lot of people in lighting much smarter than me. No one could really look at that road and tell you how many fixtures you're going to need and what the photometric layout's going to be without modeling it. Right. We can model the road. We can show what the overlap is. We can show what the uniformity is. We can model it and show you how much light goes back onto the turtle ground. Right. All that can be done in relatively simply. By most manufacturers or even engineers.
Do you know through the information in that study whether they went to the different barrier island communities that have turtle situations and compared? I didn't see any detail like that. That was part of what they said they were going to do.
I think they mentioned the solar option. They mentioned, looking at that study. And I think they did probably look at like Treasure Island. So listen, Town Lighting, I've tried to research them a little bit because I had never heard of them before. Okay. So Suzanne is the owner of Town Lighting. Very, very sharp, very involved in the IES, very knowledgeable about lighting. The rest of the people that are on the Town Lighting team, from what I see, are consultants. They're 1099 consultants. Most of them from this area One of them worked at FPL, but they're all very, very smart lighting people. So I don't want to give any indication that they're not. They know this business and street lighting far better than me, and better than a lot of people. They're not, but they live here, so they've been around in other things. So they're not really, a part of the town lighting as much as they are,
doing their own thing
within the industry, doing
Gotcha.
their own thing. When you look at what some of the key takeaways from what they said, again, based off assumptions, they gave you a few options. One was really the only options that make sense is taking the existing lighting and doing what David Green said. So that was one option. Add fixtures. Now they said that you'd have to add like 100 new poles, I think, which definitely contradicts what David said, because he said there were other poles that were available that they could, sling a fixture on. He said it was a few. So that's a little bit of a discrepancy. One thing they also said, though, I'll go back to the lighting. They said, contrary to popular belief, it is possible to design a roadway lighting system in wildlife-sensitive areas using LED white lighting by locating the luminaires and shielding the lights so that no light is visible from the nesting areas. So that is an overlap where they did agree with the previous study. And I think it's important that we at least recognize where there's overlap. Where there's differences, that's what we have to kind of consider. They gave the it didn't look like they were selling the single source amber option very much, and they talked about the lower lumen output, which is true in most all amber fixtures that I've ever seen anyway. Again, I'm not the expert in amber, but they definitely led the discussion, and their final recommendation was for a dual source, which I believe in the beginning they were already kind of told that's what we wanted to consider. So I kind of feel like that there's not a lot of new data that has been, necessarily generated that I have seen, actually raw data, analyzation of the, existing fixtures, photometric layouts, modeling, and things like that to this point. So we're still kind of talking about it. The fixtures that they actually listed in the table that, because they recommended a dual source, the only recommendation they had with a dual source is one that was either town owned or FPL owned, which is another really good consideration. I know I don't have much time, Ed, but you got all day, don't you? All right. The big difference there is FPL has a tariff. You pay X amount per month, and then you can, they take care of the maintenance. The town has no risk associated with what was installed. FPL takes a lot of abuse because they only allow certain fixtures, but they take the risk.
Yeah.
So, you take the risk. I mean, if you guys want to do it, I'm pretty sure you'd want to make sure the fixtures were, going to perform. And the manufacturer that you were going to select has been around long enough, who has the financial capacity to be able to cover any issues and will be there if you need them. Right. So that's why they limit those fixtures. The FPL program's pretty nice if you get on the program because of those reasons. Even if you do an FPL program, you may or may not have to pay an upfront cost depending on what you want the design to be. But it takes time. If you're not going to, again, if you select a product that's on the FWC, it's easy. It's already approved. If you select a product that's on the FPL, it's easy. It's already approved. Either one of those you don't, then they have to approve it, and it takes time. So if it's not on the FPL list and you want it on the FPL program, you're probably talking 3-6 months. I don't know.
So the final recommendation that they made was for the dual source light that is not on the FWC list, that is not on the FPL list, that has amber during turtle season and white lights during non-turtle season, and nobody agrees with it so far.
I think the other thing it's not, the one they listed, is not a real fixture. That fixture, I would be willing to...
The fixture they recommended doesn't exist, is what you just said.
The E-Luminaire fixture that they recommended has never been seen in the market that I am aware of. So, and I really don't know of E-Luminaire. And I want to give them credit, though. They did say in the beginning of this report that the examples that they're giving are just examples, right? That they're not necessarily recommending, and it has to go to an RFP. And but that fixture would be a very custom fixture that they would need to design. There's very few dual source systems that have ever been designed or installed anywhere for good reason.
But dual, it sounds like a good. I mean, on the surface of it, it sounds like a good option.
It does, yeah. but there's reasons why that it's not, and they don't really, it's confusing on here because they list that, again, if there was a spec sheet on this actual fixture, we could give you a lot better information. There's no spec sheet because there's no fixture. They're working with this company to come up with some ideas to design something. There's no spec sheet. And actually, if you go to the website, there's no spec sheets at all from this company. I'd never heard of them. So I looked it up on Hoover's DMB, and they list them as having 5 employees at $1.6 million that was brought in, it's an LLC in 2017. So I'm hoping there's more information if that's the fixture that they would recommend, because I would be concerned as a stakeholder for the town to take the ownership of a system from a company who's been around for 4 years. Right?
And the upfront cost was about $5 million.
Yeah, I think it was about
before maintenance or anything like that. I don't even know if that includes the poles.
I mean, the upfront cost for a lot of them is a lot.
It is. But again, you're making a lot of assumptions to get there. You don't really know because you've not really done that photometric study.
So what do you think is going to happen this week? The Public Safety Committee and the Marine Resources Task Force Committee meet together Monday at 9 o'clock to go over this. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be a lot of discussion that we've already had. I don't think there's going to be, I think that both the Marine Resource Task Force and the Safety Committee, I'm guessing, are going to not be happy with, it's not really even a recommendation because it's not really even a product that's commercially available in the field.
So how do you pay $185,000?
I would have a hard time calling it a recommendation, I guess.
And there's a whole chart of options there. The council can pick whichever one they want, correct?
The council can pick whatever the one they want. Lee County will decide also.
Right. Yeah. So, does anybody have any idea which way Lee County is leaning?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing Lee County at too many of the recent meetings, and they do have the final say.
They definitely have a major input on, what's installed on their road.
Yeah.
And I do know they are concerned because, again, they funded a study related to safety. So I think that they're pretty concerned about safety. So I don't know if that's, if there's a dual source that will perform to those, those metrics and be something that the town wants to take the risk on for owning themselves based off of that limited information. And it also doesn't mention, I guess one thing is it says amber. It was interesting on their study that they said they listed the limited wavelength of the dedicated amber fixtures, 594 nanometers. On that one, they didn't list that. So in order to get FWC approved, they would have to be a limited wavelength. So
do you think we're going to see lights on Estero Boulevard anytime soon?
No.
So do you know of any dual source light
there is none that's commercially available.
Okay.
That I've ever seen. Now I think our company has made a custom. I'm sure there's other companies that have made custom. I think they mentioned maybe King Luminaire that's coming out with something, and they're a large manufacturer and a good one. So if they had something, it's kind of important though when you look at these. I really think we need to do something that's commercially available. A custom fixture has a lot of risk.
Yeah.
When that fixture goes out, how are you going to get a part for it? It's not commercially available. So there's a lot of considerations.
What should people in the community be doing or be aware of or be active in to stay on top of this? So the train is moving forward toward some kind of lighting because, at night it's pretty dangerous on that road.
It is. I don't know. I think continue to share your concerns with the council. They are definitely doing everything they can. It's a complicated topic.
For sure.
It really is. And everybody has the best of intentions. Everyone does. And it's not really, it's just frustrating that it's taken this long. It's frustrating to me because, and part of that is though, that, the original study we'd already be done if white was okay, right? If a white light source was done that would not be visible to the turtles, we would have it installed and the safety issue would be gone. So either the council needs to decide, and now you have another consultant that we hired that said you could do that. It can be designed that way, but there's other considerations. Again, like I said,
right.
So they need to understand, they're going to have to choose the side, to be honest with you. They're going to have to say, all right, we are going to go amber, or we're going to go white, or we're going to go down this dual source path, which, as I have explained, is pretty complicated, going to take a long time, and it's going to have a lot of risk.
And it'd be interesting to know which way the county is leaning. So maybe that helps the town council out with their decision which way they go with. I mean, at this point, maybe somebody in the town knows which way the county's leaning, but I haven't heard them say it publicly yet. I don't know.
I haven't either.
So
I mean, I think that's a good idea, though.
Well,
Ed.
I mean, if they're and I'm sure it is, if their main concern is safety, then if something, whatever is chosen, if there's enough light to make it safe, whatever color it is, they're probably going to be like, well, look, okay. I mean, because the price, they don't pay the price.
The town does.
Right.
I wonder if the county will kick in at all to help pay for it, or if it's going to be completely town funded.
I will say, just as an aside note, I really don't remember being someplace that had amber lights until I know I'm going back on my vacation and I went down a canyon road, and I would have never, ever have noticed this had it not been for any of this.
You're an expert.
But
now.
I was, just going on and on and on with my family in the car about, do you know, these are amber lights, and see how low they are, and they're shielded. Oh, and but what was interesting is even in that, I was in St. George, even in that area, every once in a while, there would be a white LED that either, I don't know why it was placed there, but once you got closer into town and it was white LED, it is, your eyes,
it's hard. It's hard when
you can see better, but driving with the amber, it was a different ambiance and
so do you prefer the amber? Do you prefer the color of the amber over the white? Now you can't say I'm going in amber and I see a white fixture and I don't like the white fixture, because that's not a fair representation.
Well, no,
it's like being dark and flipping on your light.
And that's what I was like. Whoa, this is not.
Yeah.
This
so
is
Jim,
not good.
before we let you go, what is your final recommendation? What should the town go with?
You mean in terms of the actual lights itself?
Yeah.
And again,
come on, Jim. Come on.
It's really.
You're a lighting guy. Give us an answer here.
Well, listen. I mean,
it might change some minds.
If I don't think
some hearts and minds.
If it can be confirmed through a photometric and modeling that you could put in and by the way, I'm not against doing the town taking the ownership, as long as it's with a reputable manufacturer. And and maybe the town wants to do that. Maybe they go with white, but also put them on controls.
All right.
To where that they could dim fixtures down, during particular
They've
times.
already said they don't want to do that, but
who said that?
I've heard the town people said they don't really want to be doing that.
Well, I don't know who would say that, but it's kind of ignorant to say it, because wireless controls of lighting is mainstream. That's not an unusual
So
thing.
what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is the same as what it has been from the beginning. If it can be white and wildlife and FWC approved,
like the NPO guy said,
and even like this consultant said,
you say white is the answer.
Then I think white is the answer, because it's the least expensive and it gives us the best safety and security.
And it's turtle friendly because it's FWC approved.
And it would be turtle friendly because it's not visible from the beach.
Shielded.
It's shielded and has the right photometric layout. That would be
what would you vote for?
I have no idea. I mean,
what would you vote for, Kim?
I can't.
You're not gonna like my answer.
I do like it. Listen, I really don't care.
I did. Like I said, I hadn't seen amber before. I did like that light.
Yeah.
If there's enough that you can see, and where I was, I felt comfortable. It was 2 lanes on one side, 2 lanes on the other side, and I was actually like, well, this is putting out enough light. Now it was in a canyon road, and I guess
can you picture that in an area that has a lot of activity, potential crime, and all that, and say that you think that light puts off the same type of visibility as a wider light in terms of that?
Like I said, I think if they could put enough to, if that's what it takes, if it takes more fixtures to get to whatever level it needs to be for safety and visibility.
You see, I think here's what I think.
And you can put enough. I mean, it might cost you $10 million, but absolutely,
and
you can put enough.
And it's not I'm not making any,
And nobody listens to anything I say, which is fine. But the way the seasons are set up now is kind of lucky for the town. It's turtle season, but it's not really busy season. Maybe this season went longer compared to others because of COVID and all that. But why not have it amber during the slower season to keep that group happy? And then why not go to when it's busier on, we're basically
So you're
talking,
saying dual source.
We're
You're saying dual
basically,
source.
we're basically talking about this stretch here, which is where most of the activity is, that where there's trouble.
Again, if you want to go dual source, there's nothing wrong with
So-
dual source except
so
for
why-
the reasons I gave you.
But why are people so adamantly against the dual sourcing? Like, what is the big problem
I
with
think
white
it's- I
if
think
it's
it's
approved
what
by
he's-
FWC?
Well, I think that's what he's saying, though. It's not,
There's no mainstream commercially available dual source systems that you can buy. And think about it, Ed. Why is that? It's because, as Kim said, you can't get as much light out of an amber. So if you've got a white light that you can get, again, their numbers they have on there, I really, to be honest with you, don't believe. And if they show me a spec sheet and a product, I might be able to believe it. But you can't really get 18,000 lumens out of a white and an amber in the same, unless it's the size of
Well, I hope the town
that wall.
asks those questions like you just
That's
put
the
up
questions
there.
they need to ask.
Well,
they
I
really
mean,
need to ask where, if
You
that's
need to
not
go-
really
you need to go
available,
up
what
to that meeting.
hypothetical situation are you using? And how long would it really take to have a commercially available product?
and why aren't the lighting developers developing that? Would make me think that there's not as much.
There's good reasons
market
why we
for
don't
it,
develop it.
that
Yeah.
people are either choosing one or the other.
How did the caveman do it without all this technology and lighting and stuff? And it's
We should
just
just
Because
do
it was
fires.
really
We should just
international
build fires
dark
on those
skies,
fires.
and
Yeah.
they could use the actual light from the sky to
Yeah.
see where they were
I'm for
going.
That's
gas.
right.
I'm
That's right.
actually for a gas lighting system if we could do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Not like-
I still think my idea is the best. Put lights in the ground, lighting in the ground. This way, they're never going to reach the beach that way, and you get something.
Yeah, a little hard to shine off the surfaces you need to reflect off of when they're in the ground. You'd be shooting up
Shining
in the
it
air.
up.
That'd be sky glow. So that's the other issue that you
Yeah.
don't
Sky
want to
glow.
have.
You
Yeah,
see, there's
that.
always something.
There's always
some
something,
group.
Ed. You're right.
There's always some group.
It's a complicated topic.
Yeah.
It really
It
is.
Well,
But,
Jim, we're going to give away tickets, so that's not complicated. So thank you for coming
You're
in.
welcome.
And you're going out boating today with the wife and
I
Alana.
think I'm supposed to go. Probably Alana's working, but I think I might go out.
Well, if
with
you're
the
out of the
wife.
water, look
Yeah.
for her hat.
Okay,
And
I
see
will.
where if you
Did
can.
you drop her off a hat
uh,
today?
I forgot, but now I remembered. So on the way back, we can.
Oh, it was one of ours?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes,
geez.
yes. You gotta
Out
have
there
that out
floating
there.
around.
Thanks, guys. Hey,
Jim
good job.
Hockett,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate Jim Hockett coming in and talking about lights because we don't know jack about lights.
No.
Well, you know more about lights than I
Well,
do.
I've read more about it than you have.
All right, everybody. We are going to give away 2 tickets to the Beach Theater, and
Let
we
me
are
do this first.
way long. Well, first you ask the question, then you read the
Oh,
ad,
okay.
then you
Let
check for
people-
the answers.
Got it.
There, I'm the
Got
radio
it.
guy here. Okay,
Got
you
it.
just
Go ahead,
stick with
Master of
me, and
Ceremonies.
we'll go places.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. This week,
Oh,
the
we
Beach
sure are.
Theater is screening the movie Old by filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan. I should pre-read the questions too. I didn't do that. For what 1999 film was he nominated for an Oscar for Best Director and Best Original Screenplay? And type your answer in the screen in
That's an easy
the chat box there. And the first person is going to win 2 tickets to the Beach Theater. I'm going to read
What
it one
I-
more time.
What I like is that you have it printed out phonetically,
You know,
and you still couldn't get it.
Janine printed it out
Thank you, Janine.
phonetically,
It's
and I
didn't
still
help.
didn't get it. The Beach Theater is screening the movie Old by filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan. And for what 1999 film was he nominated for an Oscar for Best Director and Best Original Screenplay? The first person through gets 2 tickets to see whatever movie they'd like to see at the Beach Theater.
Be careful. You almost said the answer,
I
didn't
know.
you? So while you guys are all contemplating and cogitating on that, I will read about Fort Myers Tiki Tours. You can go out on a 90-minute cruise on a really cute tiki boat. It goes up and down the bay. They provide, obviously, the captain and the ice in a cooler. You bring your food, whatever you want to drink. Bring your camera, bring your phone, do some video. You can go out. We went out for Father's Day a while ago. You can go out for Mother's Day, birthdays, team building things, a girl's day out, a guy's day out, whatever you can come up with. They are located over at Salty Sam's Marina, 239-887-0042. That's 239-887-0042. They're keeping it clean with COVID. They're making sure everybody has a good time. The captain we had was super entertaining. We've really felt like rock stars because people from other boats were taking our pictures because who really sees a fleeting a tiki boat on the water?
All right. Well, apparently that was a tough question because we
That
don't even
was.
have a single guess. Perhaps
Oh.
it's because we've gone way over
Okay.
and people are totally
So this
Finished.
movie also had Bruce Willis in it and a very young.
Oh, I know. I forgot to say something. I cannot forget to tell everybody this. I'm going to post it later when I get home too. The county chairman, Kevin Rowane, wanted us to remind everybody that Colonel Kelly, this is very important, everybody. Colonel Kelly will be in town Monday at 3:00 at the county administration building. It's an open meeting.
Oh, all
You know,
right.
there's a lot of shit going on with shit coming down from Lake Okeechobee and the CC option that's picked
Alternative CC.
from the Army Corps of Engineers, which isn't to the liking of Lee County or the Captains for Clean Water or our friends at SCCF. Some believe there could be some tweaking.
Well, my understanding was that they were going to pick one of the 5 and
Work on it.
then work on it.
Yeah.
So
if you want to have some input or if you want to support Kevin and the county commission, Kevin's really been obviously pushing for clean water for a long time. You know, he's one of the ones that actually is for clean water.
Right,
That says,
right.
"Hey, for clean water,"
And does something
follows
about
through
it, yeah.
with it. So 3:00 tomorrow at the county administration building, and it's going to include all the elected officials. All the mayors are going to be there. It's going to include realtors, chambers of commerce. It's going to be like all hands on deck.
yeah, I mean, I think now the big push is that to get that alternative, which from what I had read prior to this was one of the better ones of the others that were available. But now there's really a specific area that needs to be tweaked, and people need to get in there and say that high flow area needs to be tweaked.
Yeah, and I love Brian Mast because he comes on the show. But when Brian Mast is 100% elated with what's picked, we know that's bad news for our side.
No, not necessarily. I think it's. I don't think that's
all
true.
right. Maybe
I
that's an
disagree with
exaggeration, but
I disagree.
they
with
could
that.
use your input. They could use your help. And that's 3:00 tomorrow. I'm sure it's going to be carried live, but if you can show up in person at the county chambers building, which is downtown, that'd be a great help
and
too.
help them balance that alternative so that it's the best we can do for everybody involved.
All right, everybody. No winner this week. The answer was The Sixth Sense. So we'll hold over the tickets to next week. This is the first week that we haven't even had a guest. So next week we'll try and ask Janine for an easier question, like who was in the movie Dumb and Dumber?
Okay.
That'd be easy, right? Jim Carrey and what's the other guy's name?
The blonde-headed guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
I don't know.
See, maybe that's not too. If I can't get it, we should really dumb it down low so anyone can get it, even
All
a
right.
caveman.
Thank you so much, folks,
Yes.
for hanging in there with us.
All right, a long one today, folks, and we apologize to all the affiliates down the line that we went way long, but we wanted to get the water topic in. And don't forget, 9:00 on Monday is the Public Safety Committee and the Marine Resources Task Force. They're meeting together, and they're going to talk about lighting, and more lighting. Bye-bye.